to the Kill Count, where we tally up the victims in all our favorite horror movies. I'm James A. Janice, and today we're looking at Us, released in 2019 by director Jordan Peele. Us is Jordan Peele's follow-up to his massively successful directorial debut, Get Out. While Us, like Get Out, can still be categorized as socially conscious horror, there are quite a few differences between this and Peele's first film. For one thing, while Get Out was more genre-curious, and maybe a bit more on the thriller side of things, Us is much more clearly a horror movie, with the scares coming hard and fast, and the kills more numerous and graphic. Us also has more humor in it, which is great if you're a fan of Peele's comedy like I am. Sure, Get Out had solid comedic relief in the form of Rod Williams, T.S. motherfucking A, but in Us, pretty much everyone's cracking jokes. That may rub some viewers the wrong way, but how could anyone get upset watching comedic genius and all-around good boy Tim Heidecker? Finally, Peele's two films have distinct thematic differences as well. Get Out examined race relations and the way seemingly well-meaning limousine liberals can harbor prejudices just as nasty as anyone else. But Us has nothing to do with race, and instead can be read as an allegory about class, the way our society keeps certain kinds of people at a disadvantage if it means the rest of us can continue living in comfort. To explore such a big theme, Us has a much bigger story, and it ends up portraying a nationwide affair as opposed to the very self-contained story that we saw in Get Out. Along with that expansion comes some plot holes and logic leaps, but if you're more into themes and atmosphere like I am, Us is a very worthy second effort by Mr. Jordan Peele. You can hear a deeper discussion about this movie by watching our review of it on the podcast, but right now let's see how many bodies we can unearth and get to the kills. The movie begins by telling us that there are a whole lot of underground tunnels in the United States and that most of them are abandoned. Thanks for the fun fact, Jordan, but I came here to watch a horror movie, not to read a Snapple cap. It's 1986 and the hip new charity stunt sweeping the nation is Hands Across America, an actual event that took place that tried to raise funds to fight homelessness and poverty.
This summer, 6 million people will tether themselves together to fight hunger in the United States.
A subsequent commercial transitions us to the Santa Cruz Beach boardwalk, where this little girl Adelaide is celebrating her birthday. After her father wins her a Thriller t-shirt, she ends up unwisely wandering off on her own. She passes a gentleman advertising biblical verses and makes her way down to the beach, where she finds a carnival attraction that wouldn't get made in the modern day. The Shaman's Vision Quest. Hey look, Addie, you can find yourself in there. And hopefully she can also find a new candy apple, since she just up and wasted the one she had. The maze is full of spooky hooty-hoos and funhouse mirrors, but things get for real scary after the lights go out and the endless reflections get Addie a little lost. Even worse is when she backs up into a reflection that doesn't quite move the right way, because turns out this isn't a reflection at all. Yowie wowie! The opening credits play over a cryptic image of a wall of caged rabbits, accompanied by an original theme by composer Michael Abels. Abels also did the score for Get Out, and Peele was actually encouraged to use him again for this movie by Steven Spielberg, who compared Peele and Abels to Spielberg and John Williams. Can't turn a dude down after that comparison. We're now in the present day, and Addie is a grown woman, played by Oscar winner Lupita Nyong'o, who has one of those families that advertises its membership on the back window of their vehicle. Her hilarious husband Gabe Wilson, played by Winston Duke, is an expert at embarrassing their kids Zora and Jason, whether it's by waking them up with yelling, "We made or simply dabbing on them haters. The Wilson family is vacationing at their Santa Cruz lake house, where they talk about Zora's potential future as a track star and Jason's inability to master a close-up magic trick he has.
This thing's kind of bullshit.
Hey.
Gabe decides that they should all go to the beach, and that gives Addie flashbacks to her post-Shaman's Quest childhood. Although she had only been away from her parents for 15 minutes, young Addie fell completely silent upon her return, and was even diagnosed with PTSD by a therapist, which really upset her parents.
I just want my little girl back.
In an effort to help heal Addie of whatever trauma she endured, her parents enlisted her in dance class, as revealed in this nicely creepy flashback that grown-up Addie has. "Stop looking at me, swan dancer!" On the lake behind their house, Gabe unveils his latest purchase, a boat. Yo, what's that boat's name?
Crawdaddy! Ha ha!
Hell yeah, Gabe, let's get cray-cray on the Crawdaddy. You know, if you can actually keep it running properly.
Oh, I got it. That taught me how to do this.
They leave the Crawdaddy behind and take their car to the Santa Cruz beach, where Jason continues being a little potty mouth.
Kiss my anus, Zora.
Ew!
Whoa!
Anus isn't a cuss word.
I would have actually
preferred you use a curse word in this case.
After bonding over the classic Luna's song, I Got 5 on It, which every generation can enjoy, they arrive at their sandy destination, which Addie is just so excited about. Really, this is just super. Before they reach the beach, they see a dead man being wheeled into an ambulance. Addie realizes that the dude is the same guy with the Jeremiah 11:11 sign that she saw on the boardwalk as a child. Addie and the audience may not know it just yet, but something big has already begun. The Wilson family and their shadows walk across the sandy beach to hang out with their friends Josh and Kitty Tyler, played by an on-screen couple I never knew I needed, Tim Heidecker and Elizabeth Moss. They're so good at being awful people.
What do we say?
I hate you?
That works?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Good.
Jason wanders off on his own, like mother like son I suppose, and sees both the updated beach funhouse as well as a dude standing eerily by himself, his arms outstretched to nothing and no one in particular. Oh, and his hands dripping blood too? No bueno. But hey, little dude, could you try not disappearing on your mom like that? She doesn't need any more beachside trauma, lest we want to turn her into Martin Brody. That night, after Addie tells Zora, Jason, and Jason's Wolfman mask goodnight, she decides to have a serious conversation with Gabe. Poor timing for him, since he was just about to ask her to umbaku that thing up.
Hey,
Gabe, I want to go.
where you trying to go?
Staring at her own reflection in the window, Addie tells Gabe that when she got lost in that maze as a child, she ran into another girl who looked exactly like her. Now she's worried that that doppelganger girl is coming to get her, due to a whole bunch of weird little coincidences she's been noticing ever since they got to Santa Cruz. As if on cue, the lights go out, and Jason appears in their room to tell them some distressing news.
There's a family in our driveway.
And that family is one unsettling sight, man, standing silhouetted in front of a streetlight holding hands. Gabe doesn't think it's that big a deal though, and to prove it, he goes outside and tries to speak to the other family, only to find them totally unresponsive. Addie calls the cops, but they're still 14 minutes away, so Gabe batters up to defend his loved ones, which should work just fine, as long as those weirdos don't start acting too creepy. Oh, abort, abort, that shit's way too creepy. The Wilson family bunkers down in their house as their scary counterparts outside surround it. A shadow, carrying scissors and whistling, approaches the front door and uses the lake house's hide-a-key to open it. And who should walk in but Gabe's doppelganger, wearing a red jumpsuit and looking much more intimidating than the dorky dad we know and love. In fact, all 4 members of the Wilson family have a red jumpsuited shadow version present and accounted for, and the doppelgangers silently stare the Wilsons into a seated position as they begin to realize exactly who they're looking at.
It's us.
The matriarch of these mimicries uses her very raspy voice to tell the Wilsons who they are,
We're Americans.
and where they came from, framing their story as a fairy tale. You see, once upon a time,
There was a girl, and the girl had a shadow.
the Addie doppelganger, named Red, says that the girl and her shadow were tethered in a way so that they had the same life experiences at the same time. Except, sounds like the shadow's versions of events were way super shittier.
The girl had her first child, a beautiful baby girl. But the shadow, she gave birth to a little monster.
Because of all this, Red says that the shadow hated the girl, and now that the shadow is here, she's ready to handcuff the girl to a table. Real fast, we've got to give credit to the entire cast, who all had to play 2 distinct characters, as well as the crew, who made sure that fact never distracted the audience. This scene plays just as smoothly as if there were 8 separate people acting in these parts, and that's impressive as hell. Special props go to Lupita Nyong'o, who plays 2 lead characters simultaneously.
One of the first things he said to me was, Lupita, you're gonna be very tired. And he delivered on that promise.
To make this work, they would usually shoot the more passive roles the day after shooting the more active ones like Red, who was so intense that Nyong'o stayed in character the entire time she was on set.
Question. Yes. Watching her children. This is before they get up and all this, before the attacks. Well, she's still sitting. It's just a moment. Okay.
It also probably helped that when Nyong'o was playing Addie, she had Jordan Peele doing an excellent mimicry of her Red voice.
When the girl ate, her food was given to her, warm and tasty. When the shadow was hungry, she had to eat rabbit.
The other family members and their doppelgangers break off into partners. First, Gabe's tethered version, Abraham, steals his glasses, then drags him out of the house so he can beat that bitch with a bat. Then, Red challenges Zora to a foot race with her mirror, Umbre, by telling her to run. Aw, they're gonna be training buddies together. That's nice. Make sure you do a proper warm-up now. Finally, Red sets up a play date between Jason and his bemasked counterpart named Pluto.
Go play, boys. Don't burn our house down.
Apt warning, since Pluto's a little pyro who lights a match so he can watch Jason try to do his magic trick. Thanks for the light, pal, but you sure you should be playing with fire? Again, I guess? Down the street, Umbre catches up to Zora and plays Ring Around the Sedan with her before hopping up onto the roof of this car and threatening Zora with a pair of golden scissors. Luckily, Zora is saved when the car's angry owner comes outside.
Get off my car!
The distraction gives Zora a chance to escape, and while she runs away, we see and hear that dude get killed when Umbre stabs him with her golden scissors. Gabe finds himself in a trash bag on the Crawdaddy, his captor Abraham also equipped with a pair of shiny scissors. When the boat gives out on him, Abraham tries to Fonz it back into working order, which gives Gabe a chance to break out of the bag, grab the bat, and knock his shadow into the lake. Abraham jumps out of the water like little boy Swamp Jason and tries to stab Gabe, but he's stopped when Gabe Fonzes the boat engine back to life with a headbutt. That starts the motor up and kills Abraham by chopping him up in the propeller. Way to use your head there, Gabe. With their families out having fun, the moms are finally able to have some one-on-one time, and Red tells Addie that they've been waiting a long time for this day.
I call it the untethering.
Before Red can finish pushing Eddie's face through that table, though, Jason sparks his weird little magic trick and manages to lock Pluto in the closet by himself. The burnt boy's cries for help draw Red away, and after letting Pluto out, she begins to hunt for Jason with her scissors. That bunny's not Jason, Red. Quit wasting time. While she's dilly-dallying around, Addie uses a fire poker and some leverage to free herself from the table, although she's still stuck in the cuffs. She calls Jason out of his hiding spot so they can get the heck out of this house before that creepy Lucha kid and his raspy-voiced mom come and get him. Go, go, go! Zora joins her mother and brother, and the three of them escape to the dock to board the Crawdaddy with their tall daddy. Sorry, tethered friends, we've only got 4 life jackets on board. Gotta be safe, wouldn't want another Titanic, you know? Bye! Over at Josh and Kitty's house, their ideal life of indolence is interrupted by a power flicker and the noise of someone shuffling around outside.
There's a person walking around outside our fucking house.
Probably a squirrel. I don't know.
Would you please get up and look?
I'm busy. I'm busy.
Josh ignores it and has his home AI Ophelia play some good vibrations. But his laziness comes at a cost when their twin daughters Becca and Lindsay get stabbed by tethered versions of themselves who appear inside the house. God, the cut to the quieter outside shot is such well done horror directing. It's so damn spooky. Shadows Josh and Kitty also appear and stab their counterparts, and the attack kills Josh immediately. Awesome kill. Great job. Kitty, however, initially survives, and, gurgling lots of blood, crawls to the feet of Josh's tethered counterpart, named Tex, who offers her some help down low. Whoops, too slow. Maybe Kitty can get some help from the technology that's made her life so easy.
Ophelia, call the police.
Sure. Playing Fuck the Police by NWA.
Nope, Kitty gets her throat slit by her own counterpart, named Dahlia, and honestly, I'm kinda relieved that it cuts away for it. Despite the funny Ophelia bit, that was one intense and effective home invasion. I didn't need a graphic throat slit thrown into the mix too. The Wilsons arrive to get help from their friends, only for Addie to get pulled into the house by the tethered twins. Neighbors, who needs them? Gabe tells his kids to run away so he can fight the very entertaining Tex, even though Gabe is still pretty beat up from his scuffle with Abraham. The kids enter the house, and despite seeing the carnage in front of them, silently resolve to head upstairs and save their mom. I'm done being a wolf boy. It's time to be a wolf man. They climb the stairs and marvel at the wicked awesome Shining reference in front of them, as well as that tethered twins acrobatics. That's pretty good there. Hey Zora, why don't you show her your golf swing? Oh, Zora, that's not how you make new friends. Zora also fails to make friends with the other tethered twin, named Io and who I think is Becca's mirror, since she also beats her down with the club and then stabs her to death. I know this is probably soups traumatic for her, but it's great to see a kid in a horror movie take charge and kick ass. Outside, Gabe makes his way onto Josh's brilliantly named boat, the Biatch, and hides well enough to frustrate Tex into calling out for help from his raptor friends. Although Gabe misses a flare gun shot, he does end up beating Tex to death off-screen inside the red-lit hall of the Biatch. Inside the house, Dahlia is having a great time putting on makeup and making herself purty. Oh, too purty there, Dahlia. You don't need to give yourself the same smile as your namesake. Zora creeps in with her golf club, but delivers a subpar sneak attack, and Dahlia ain't about to give her a mulligan. Tethered Peggy is just about to cut Zora's throat open when she's stopped by Jason with a trophy smash. And yeah, that killed her. Don't act surprised, the Tethered aren't superhuman or anything, they're Americans. The Wilsons take a breather and turn on the news, where they learn that they're not the only ones dealing with sewer people in jumpsuits shanking people with scissors. In fact, on a live feed, they see, oh shit, are those a bunch of background bodies? Start the fucking purge counting engines, I guess. Bry and Zoran, I'm sorry. In the live news report they watch, we see, I think, 3 bodies on the ground in front of a line of tethered folks holding hands in a giant link. Then the camera operator gets attacked and presumably killed, so go ahead and call it 4. Addie realizes that the Tethered are taking their place as Americans and have been planning this for a long time, so she decides that the Wilsons need to escape down to Mexico pronto. They go to leave, but when Addie grabs the keys to Josh and Kitty's car, she's attacked by the surviving Tethered twin, Nix, who I think was Lindsay's counterpart and who had been knocked over the balcony earlier. The still handcuffed Addie manages to grab some nearby scissors and win the fight by stabbing Nix with them. I guess she nixed that little attack, huh? In any case, not the best time for your son to walk in and see you. With her parents injured and or handcuffed, Zora insists on driving and tries to convince her mom to let her with a pretty interesting argument, I must say.
I have the highest kill count in the family. You don't have the highest kill count.
Oh, well, perhaps I can be of assistance. I do happen to be the expert.
I killed both twins. Wrong. I just killed the second one.
Yep, that's exactly right. Guess you already knew that. But did you know that?
I killed Kitty.
Yeah, so that's
1, 1, 1, and 2. I killed 2. I killed myself and Josh,
So, wow, you guys, don't even really need me, huh? They see Umbre standing in the road and smiling at him, so Zora goes to punch at Chewie. But Umbre just straight up hops that hood and tries to stab at him through the sunroof. She winds up on the windshield, so Zora simply speeds the car up again and slams the brakes to fling her straight into the woods. Addie isn't content not knowing Umbre's fate, so she goes in after her and finds the tethered girl tethered to a frickin' tree branch. Her daughter's doppelganger dies slowly, giggling in distress, as Addie somewhat compassionately hushes the girl to peace. The Wilsons drive through the night, and come morning, why, they're just making my job a pain in the ass by passing 3 dead bodies in a car and 5 more strewn all about the street in various positions, making 8 total additions right now. They round a corner and find their path blocked by their own station wagon wreathed in flames. A fire? Wonder who could have started. Oh, hey, Pluto! You wouldn't happen to know anything about this, would you? And the body next to that open car door? Anything about that, little mister? No? Alright, scamp. Addie grabs the fire poker and gets out of the car, and in the process, reveals 3 more bodies in the background behind her. 1 on the ground, and 2 slumped over together on a bench. We see the 2 more clearly in a different shot later. She approaches Pluto as he stands there snapping to the rhythm in his own head, but just like with Umbre, she reaches out to him with compassion, and even gets him to show her his face. But Jason realizes it's a trap, and that Pluto's a little schemer, looking to Mad King burn them all inside the car. So Jason gets out and defeats his tethered counterpart by stretching out his arms and walking backwards. Pluto mimics his Wolfman friend, walking straight back into the fire. Although the tethered aren't bound to always mirror their surface counterparts, we saw that Pluto had been mirroring Jason when they were playing in the closet earlier. Jordan Peele says the 2 characters have a higher synchronicity than the other pairs, and that they were basically playing a game here, even though it's one that leaves Pluto on the kill count. But Pluto also went along with this because he was the bait for Red's real plan all along, which was to snatch Jason up and run away with him. The Wilson family sees that Jason is gone and start to look for him. Maybe they'll find him on the boardwalk. Nope, no Jason, just a bunch of crummy bodies. I counted 12, so thanks Boardwalk for the cool dozen kills. Addie then looks towards the shore, and while other viewers get to marvel at the line of tethered folk going into the sea, I didn't even notice that at first, because I was too busy counting the 8 dead bodies out on the sand to properly appreciate that unsettling image imagery. Thanks, Kill Count. I can't even look at cool shit because of you. Standing at ground zero of the world's biggest Red Rover line is the tethered guy that Jason saw earlier on the beach. At that point, he was already getting ready for his fellow tethered to arrive, having been the first to kill his doppelganger, the Bible verse dude, which we saw when the Wilsons first arrived at the beach. And of course, all of this really goes back to the mirror funhouse that Addie got lost in as a child. It's there she returns to now in order to rescue her son. She makes her way back to where she first saw her tethered self and opens a hidden bunny door into a boiler room of sorts. She navigates deeper and deeper into the building and then into the earth, taking staircases and escalators down below until she finally finds herself in a tunnel with a billion bunnies scattered about. Oh yeah, this movie did mention tunnels right at the beginning. I guess that wasn't just a Snapplecap fun fact. Sorry, Jordan, should have trusted you. Oh, and look, there's the wall of bunny cages we had our opening credits against. It's all coming together now. Honestly though, I'm just happy we're down here with living bunnies instead of topside with a bunch of dead Damn it, Zora, why you gotta be up here with all these dead bodies? I see 3 kinda close-ish, and then it gets blurry going back, but a deleted scene has the same bodies in clear focus where I can count 9. And finally, there are 4 more lying near the tethered chain. I thought there were 5 at first, but that thing's just a box. So grand total of 16 more between those 2 shots. Underground, Addie walks into a classroom and finds Red at the chalkboard. She asks the teacher where her son is, but Red only responds by giving Addie and the audience an enormous exposition dump. It's probably the weakest point of the movie, in my opinion, over-explaining itself a bit, but the gist of what she says is that these tunnels were made for some kind of science experiment.
I believe they figured out how to make a copy of the body, but not the soul. The soul remains one, shared by 2. They created the tethered so they could use them to control the ones above, like puppets.
The plan didn't work and the tethered were abandoned, although they were still tied to their counterparts on the surface, doing everything they did, only with a bit more, imagination required. But fate, or God as Red suggests, brought Addie and her tethered self together, for as Addie came down to the beach, so her tethered version went up to the surface, and eventually they met in the middle inside the funhouse of mirrors.
I never stop thinking about you. How you could have taken me with you.
Years later, when both above and below ground Addie gave a particularly powerful dance performance, the tethered audience watching down below chose the underground dancer as their leader. She enacted a years-long plan to dress them all in jumpsuits and gloves and train them to be a scissor-wielding army of destruction. And, inspired by Hands Across America, she knew exactly how they'd make their message loud and clear when they finally surfaced. Addie and Red begin a fight that becomes one of the best sequences of the film. Scored to a string arrangement of I Got 5 on It, intercut with her dance duet that set them on this path to begin with, it's a wonderful experience for both sight and sound. It's also thematically interesting, as the animalistic Red avoids Addie with graceful ease, while Addie grows more and more wild as Red continues to land stabs on her with the scissors. Red goes for a fatal overhead stab, but is instead impaled in the midsection by Addie with her fire poker. Red falls to the ground, and unlike with Umbre or Pluto, Addie has no compassion here. Instead, she wraps her handcuffs around Red's neck and murders her, and afterwards slips into some very tethered-like vocal spasms. Addie takes a key from around Red's neck and frees herself from her handcuffs, then finds Jason cowering in a locker. Kinda hard to tell if he's more afraid of having been kidnapped or of being reunited with his grunting, murdering mom. They go back to the surface and join with Zora and Gabe, and together, the Wilsons leave the boardwalk in an ambulance, never disturbing the tethered, who stay strong in their chain of hand-holding. Everything seems to be relatively okay, until Addie starts thinking back to her childhood, when she put her hands around the real Addie's neck, knocking her out so she could drag her unconscious body into the funhouse and down into the tunnels. Yeah, dude, as kids, Addie's tethered version kidnapped her, handcuffed her to a bed, and stole her clothes so she could take her place, which she did in the creepiest manner possible. That means the Addie that went home with her parents that night was the tethered Addie all along, and the character we knew as Red was actually the original Addie, who had a raspy voice from being strangled, and who was eager to get revenge on her replacement using handcuffs. But OG tethered Addie won in the end, having murdered the original Addie with those very same handcuffs. Although it does look like her son Jason may suspect that something's up. There are actually some theories online that Jason was originally a tethered too. I don't know how much I buy it, but you can look them up and decide for yourself. The movie ends with an amazing helicopter shot that soars over the landscape and shows just how successful the tethered have been. It's an awesome shot, especially since there are no dead bodies in sight for me to count. We're too far away, motherfuckers! Can't get me with this one! How many people died as the tethered cut their way across the country? Let's find out and get to the numbers. Huh? What? Yeah! Once upon a kill count. Nah, just kidding. I'm not actually about to do that. By my painstaking count, 66 people died in Us, which is one more kill than the Purge Anarchy had. Best I could tell, the victims included 14 men, 14 women, and 38 victims of unknown blurry gender. Also, 8 of all of those kills were of the tethered, so let's have this fancy pie chart. Oh, haven't seen that one before. With a runtime of 126 minutes, we had a kill on average every 1.91 minutes. I'll give the golden chainsaw for coolest kill to Io, who got the living daylights beat out of her, literally, by Zora with a golf club. Like I said, it's cool to see a kick-ass kid. Dull machete for lamest kill, if I don't give it to any of the background bodies, we'll go to Tex, since it felt like a cheap cutaway, and that hilarious performance deserved to go out in a much better way. And that's it. Us came out in 2019, and although it was a little more divisive than Get Out, I think it solidifies Jordan Peele as a very welcome auteur in the horror genre. Until next time, I'm James A. Janice. This has been The Kill Count. Thanks a lot for watching this Kill Count. I want to thank Universal Entertainment for sending me the movie as well as some of the goodies back there. I think the cutout paper people is perfect for this, and they sent a candy apple. Most importantly, they sent those golden scissors, which I'm very excited to have. I also want to thank some patrons like Christian Wiersink, Donnie Nail-Chakisik, Michael Zielinski, Daniel DeLuca, Zion Sutherland, and Church. Thanks everyone, be good people.